On this episode of Into the Unknown, I'm joined with my friend and teammate, Zack Jessell. Zack, how you doing today, man?
Amazing. I just want to say thank you for having me on. I looked at the previous guests, and it's nice to be involved in some of this. I'm excited to see where you take this podcast and the future guests to come. And then I could put on my resume. I was on your podcast before it blew up, so yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it, man. So let's jump right into it. I want to know a little bit about you. Who are you? Where are you from, man?
Yeah, name's Zack Jessell. Born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Come from a pretty large family, one of nine. My mom and dad each had two kids before they got married, had five boys together. Grew up with my mom's son and daughter. Don't really look at my half siblings as half siblings. So I just tell everybody, one to nine. And then I grew up with brothers I have a brother that's 2 years younger than me, a brother that's 2 years older than me, a brother that's 4 years older than me, and another brother that's 6 years older than me. So like playing sports in that environment, like we grew up, it was just, baseball, street hockey, like any little thing. We were competing and, plus our mom wanted to get us out of the house, so it's like, hey, just go do something outside. So that's what really probably I think started the sports side of me in life. Even though when I was a kid, it didn't seem like it, but I really grew into it as I grew up as a person. So amazing parents, amazing siblings. Wouldn't be here without that structure and those people in my life. So I'm really happy with the way I grew up. And I went to Woodland Hills. It's on the east side of Pittsburgh. Like if you're going towards Squirrel Hill Tunnels area, it's out that way. Big football powerhouse. So like I know you're a huge sports fan and big football fan. So like Rob Gronkowski was actually there my senior or my freshman year, his senior year. One of the freakiest athletes I think I've ever seen at the high school level. Had a guy, the only guy I seen block him well in high school was Mike Dykes. He went to North Carolina, played down there for a few years. That like it was like two bulls going at it, and Mike I think is like 6'6", something like that. Awesome dude. But those two used to battle it like all the time. He was a tackle. Rob played D end and tight end for us, even though we were more of like a scramble quarterback, running back type offense. Jason Taylor was from there. Lafayette Pitts. A lot of guys I played with. A lot of guys went D1 out of that school. So like it was a pretty cool environment, and like I got into strength and conditioning really early in my life, and it's still something that I do today. Coach D was an amazing strength and conditioning coach to have at the high school level. So just like where I grew up, I think was like a very cool, you know, sports area in Western Pennsylvania. So, and then also was fortunate enough to have rugby in high school as well. My older brother started playing 2005, something like that. So I could pass a rugby ball, do all that stuff before I went to my first actual practice. I think I played my first game in 2007, in the spring of 2007 as a freshman. But I was hooked since then because like in football, it's like I played offense, defensive line, stuff like that. So never got to carry the ball. There's not as much glory, but rugby really found passion in high school, doing like select side stuff, USA rugby under 18s, I think, and 19 stuff like that. Took me to Kutztown University. While I was there, top 10 in the nation the whole time I was there. Awesome program. A lot of great players come out of there. Tim Acker, he was a gem to find down there in Atlanta. It was awesome. Like we'll get into more in Atlanta, but like Atlanta was like a home to me. I felt so welcome there after, moving down there. But yeah, and then that just took me to playing rugby after college, played around the world, lived in New Zealand, played over there, Southbridge, played for different select side teams, USA, Rugby South, different things like that. And it just takes you around the world. And rugby's such a cool community. And I've made so many good friends through that avenue that helped shape me into the person I am today. Even just professionally on outside of rugby, and the person I am. So that's a little bit about me.
Jessell, I love that. especially with the rugby aspect. I think it brings such a community that if you're not in it, I feel like you sometimes want to be in it, or you want to at least know more about how we all know each other so well. It's one of those things, if I suit up with you once, I have you for life, man. It's just one of those really cool experiences.
Yeah, and another thing, like even playing against people, like you play in a conference year after year. Like when I played in the MAC, you play against these guys so many times um, that you get to make friends on the other side of the field because we get to have the social after, you get to have a beer. You really get to leave it all on the field. And then after you talk about the game with the people you just played against, which I think is a beautiful aspect of rugby that I don't see in a lot of sports. At least, you know, I, I've been playing rugby now for 18 years. So I don't know if I have as much knowledge about how other sports, but it's definitely something unique that I think is unique to rugby, but super cool.
Just so I completely agree. After moving all over, I've lived in about 7 cities and 4 states now at this point, and it's great to have those rugby guys whenever you go. When I go back to Atlanta, you hit some of the guys up and jump in and see what everyone's up to, and it feels like you've never really left, and it's just one of those cool experiences. And I want to touch a little bit on your college experience. What was that like playing at a high level in college athletics?
Yeah, so playing D1 rugby, like we played Army, Navy, Penn State, Rutgers, Delaware, just to name a few of the colleges that were in our conference at the time. Kutztown's a Pennsylvania state school. It's a smaller budget. We're technically a club team, but that our coaches didn't look at it that way. We had trainings pretty much every day, weights, I think 3 times a week as a team. And then you had a program you had to do outside of that in the gym. So I would say it was pretty tough from like a rugby perspective of going from like men's club is like 2 days a week. You're doing Tuesdays and Thursday nights, games on Saturdays. So to me, like it was really cool to get to do that and spend a lot of time just focusing on a sport that you love. Because like in high school, I did football the whole time I was there, rugby. I did bowling my senior year. I did swimming. So it's like I played baseball my entire life. So you're doing all these other sports, but getting to like specialize and really focus on a sport. And then you get to make great friends that you have for the rest of your life. And then you also get to compete because it's not just you could show up and you're going to, play on the first team. I think at one point we had 4 different teams. So it's like, it takes a lot of work and effort to crack that first team roster, and then to be a starter, it's even tougher. So awesome program, really enjoyed it.
Just I love that. So the way we know each other is playing together in Atlanta. How'd you get to Atlanta from Pittsburgh?
So I moved back from New Zealand. One of my teammates for the Harlequins was playing for the Capital Select Side team, and I'm like, I want to try out for that. I want to be a part of a select side team to play higher level rugby. And Capital Rugby Union always plays USA South. So there was a few years, going on tour, you're playing USA South twice a year. And then eventually USA South needed a prop to go to Europe. So I put my hand up. I was like, because I guess they had someone drop out from the South. They were in a pickle. And I was like, hey, here's my resume. This is what I've done. And they brought me on tour, really just having I guess, few games I played against them as my resume. And then tour went great. Probably one of my favorite rugby memories to date. New team, meeting a lot of new faces, and then it was just like the level was just higher. And I was, we played Hungary, Austria, and the Czech Republic, and that Czech Republic game was some of the hardest I've ever been hit in my life. Tried to run through a hooker, and it was like running into a brick wall. So to me, it was just that step up of like a new experience of getting to play international rugby and go overseas and travel because we were there for like 12 days, 3 different cities. It was just like constant rugby, constant rugby. Some of my favorite memories are just running around Budapest like a morning jog and getting to really take in because I honestly, Central Europe, wasn't on my list of places where, I want to go, but like Prague's beautiful, Budapest is beautiful, like Vienna, beautiful. Like these cities are just like, I want to go back now, so I guess your original question, how did I get to Atlanta? I'm going a little long there, but that took me into being in the South player pool, right? So from there, um, COVID happens. We don't know what's going on. And then as soon as it comes, like rugby comes back, Atlanta was asking some of the South coaches, like, hey, we're trying to bring guys in for the academy. And then I put my hand up and was like, I'm interested. And then went down for a tryout. They're like, all right, well, like, the academy starts in a week. So I flew back home, packed my car up with everything I owned and whatever fit in my car. I took down to Atlanta, lived on a couch for 3 weeks. Finally moved in with Colton, the coach, now coach of Harvard, coach of life for a long time. Awesome dude. And then just got my own place and then just went through academy season, which was with a full-time job. It's like you're waking up, you have 6 a.m. trainings, and then you're done at 8, you go home, you shower, you get ready for your work day, you work all day, and then you're back into the the boneyard at night. You're lifting, you're doing units, you're doing all this stuff, prepping for games on Saturday with the academy. So that's what brought me to Atlanta, and then playing with USA South. I had a bunch of friends in the area, so the opportunity for playing club for Atlanta White came up, and that's what the Phil Thiel, who you interviewed before, was the coach. Awesome guy, plays similar position to me. So I was like, I want to be coached by him. And then Zach Miller, like a lot of Zach McAfee, a lot of these good dudes that were on that team. Jarrett, like I played with before, so I was like, yeah, I'm in, I'm sold. And then I fell in love with the culture like instantly. And then yeah, like those guys are my brothers. Like I love that team. It was really, really hard to pack up and leave that situation. But loved playing for Atlanta White. Awesome, awesome organization. Wouldn't One of my favorite club teams I ever played for sure.
Absolutely. And, I think this is also our sneaky way to recruit guys to go play for Old White without saying it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll say it. If you're
Hey,
in the
let's just do
Atlanta
a
area,
podcast and talk about how great Atlanta Old White is.
yeah. That the culture of the boys there, man. Like it was such a good team. Like I felt welcome there the whole time, even though I was new. By year 2, I honestly felt like I was there for like 10 years. Like because you just get to know everybody so fast and you become so close. I started my karaoke career because of Atlanta Old White, which I'm very fortunate to have started. So you'll see me around Denver, I'm sure, singing a little bit. So
I love it.
super excited about that.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
So, on everyone's journey, we have a chance to go east, a chance to go west, to make a decision where we don't really know the outcome. Can you give me an example of that in your life?
So for me, it was picking college football or college rugby. So I was talking to a few schools for football, talking to a few schools for rugby. To me, like the world just told me, go with your gut and go with what you love. And I'm very fortunate with my decision, like happy with my decision to pursue rugby because through that I've met so many good people, got to experience so many things. And football doesn't necessarily take you around the world. I've played rugby now on every continent except for Antarctica, which that's something that's going to happen one day. If you want to be a part of that, let me know. I'm
I'm
trying
in,
to
man.
get maybe like a little 7 on 7 or maybe some tens game going down there.
I
We'll
love
just have
that.
to find a good weather and yeah, that would be a awesome bucket list item to check off. But like I think that was a decision, even though like you grew up in Western Pennsylvania and it's so much football heavy and rugby wasn't as big as it is now, at least from like a professional standpoint and all those other things. So like there was no $1 million, you know, possible outcome out of that. It was kind of just going with my gut and going with the sport I loved. And then that was a crazy decision to make when I was 18. And yeah, so
I love that, man. So, the title of the podcast, Into the Unknown. What is your version of the unknown? What are you stepping into, man?
recently, so I work in tech, product manager. Yeah, was laid off, and then I was putting off grad school just for making up excuses. Like I don't know if I'm ready yet. But then I got laid off, and then I started did a product management strategy certification, and was just like, you know what, like I gotta jump back into grad school. To me, education has always been that like I grew up in a poor background, not a lot of like of my siblings, only 3 of us have college degrees. To me, education's always been that way to take a next step, and that's how I look at it. So, like for me, next step in my career, trying to take that next step into the product management world and the tech world was like, take this time to, not necessarily get upset or get mad at the world for the way, things happen, but like just take it head on, go back to school. I'm at Carnegie Mellon University studying their integrated innovation of products or for products and services master's program. So pretty in line with what my career is doing. And Carnegie Mellon's like really well known in the tech space. So like when rugby's coming down, I'll have something to pivot back towards and really, sink my teeth into because like I put a lot of time into rugby. So like during COVID, I was like, I don't know what the world, I was lost because like you go from being so busy to like you can't even go into a gym. So yeah, very fortunate to have rugby. It's probably never going to go away in my life. Definitely think about coaching in the future, stuff like that. But yeah, I think education and taking this next step in that. Not really sure where it's going to take me or what it'll do, but like it's never done me wrong in the past, so definitely going to run with it.
Just that's super exciting, man. You still playing rugby out there?
Yeah, so I was just hanging out. One of my good friends plays for Boulder, so was hanging out with those guys this weekend. Like you said, like one person, a whole team. And then I actually just tried out for the American Raptors. So I was at a camp with them for the last 3 4 days over. Well, I guess over the weekend. So like Thursday through Saturday. So it was like they do a lot of the crossover athletes and stuff like that. So they had a bunch of like D1 football players in, guys that have played rugby in the past, guys that played rugby in high school, but one played at like Utah, stuff like that. One of the guys is actually trying out for the XFL this weekend or this past weekend. Um, and then so it's just like back into, even though I'm about to be 32 tomorrow, it was like I I got the opportunity. I sent him a message when I moved down here. I was like, hey, I'm in Denver officially because I was talking to them a little bit towards the end of their season, and then they were just like, hey, come to this camp, we'll check you out. So haven't I was supposed to hear back earlier this week, but you know how rugby teams can be.
Always.
So yeah, so I'm waiting on a call here shortly to see what kind of the future holds. They do have a feeder team called the Water Dogs. Um, I think I know a few of the guys that play for them. I met a few of the guys at the camp that are going to be playing with them in the fall as well. So definitely still pursuing that. Like, I was doing the academy down in Atlanta, so like I'm trying to take that the opportunity I have out here, see what I can do before my body is too old. But I'm a young 32, I guess. That's how
Oh,
I
of
like to
course,
think.
man. I
So
love that. I love that. Hey, if Coach Phil can unretire and retire so many times, I think we all stand a little bit of a shot.
yeah, and I think with the front row position, like that technique and stuff, it goes a long way, and it provides us with the ability to play longer, which is very fortunate. And we don't have to play 80 minutes every game, you know, beating our bodies up. So, but yeah, it's awesome. So
It's nice, man.
I'll I'll let I'll keep you updated. I'll give you an update once I find some stuff out, and then yeah, just follow me on Instagram and see where that journey takes me.
I love that, man. You read my mind. So if people want to get to know you, learn more about you, your story, where can they find you on social media?
So my Instagram handle is the Lord 412. Funny story behind that. Started out as a joke. My older brother and my girlfriend at the time were watching the Kardashians, and like my brother Tim was like knew all the characters, knew all the stuff, and then Scott Disick got knighted. He was like, "I'm a Lord now" because he got knighted, and then I was just like, "Is it that easy to become a Lord?" So I just changed all my like Twitter handles, like everything, to the Lord 412 as a joke, and then it just got to the point where like I thought it was too funny to ever change, and this was a long time ago, probably like 10 years ago, maybe at this point. So I thought it was too funny to change. So that's the story behind that.
Jessel, I love that, man. I'm definitely looking forward. I definitely want to come out and visit in Denver at some point once you get a
Let
little
me
more
know.
settled. I love being in the Midwest. I love being in Wisconsin, but nice thing is I can travel a bit more now.
Yeah, and let me know when you're out here. Um, I'm always down to snowboard, gravel bike or play some rugby, maybe even some hiking. Even though of the top part of the finished part of the hiking is the nice part. The middle part, so you're just dying. I'm also trying to get used to this elevation too. That's been a. I'm walking up and down steps here. I'm like, well, I thought I was a little bit in better shape.
I hear that. I hear that, man. Well, just again, it was so great talking to you. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I look forward to seeing where this podcast goes, and I'm excited for you, man. I'm really proud of you. You're doing some cool stuff right now. You've done cool stuff in the past. Just keep being you and keep grinding and keep being that great person you are, man.
Appreciate you, bro.